Hey kids, we're back. Um, yeah, I'm a bit tired because it's already 10:10 p.m. 10:10. Look at that. 10:10. Okay, p.m. And I'm streaming. I'm here. I'm gonna finish this job. So what are we doing? We are. Well, first of all, you are watching Guitar Quackery Live, the one and only live streaming guitar repair channel. Okay, how about that? I am working on a budget guitar, so I'm doing a kind of like a budget service. It's an opportunity for me to show you how to do some advanced services on your own guitars if you don't have, let's say, a neck jig. It's an apparatus that I have outside here. I don't have a camera there now to show you, but I did a full level crown and polish on this guitar. We're making a new saddle, and that's it, right? So this is an $80 guitar. The customer bought it for $80 a few, 10 years, whatever, 12 years ago, I think he said. Now these guitars go for, I checked, $90 or $99, I think. It's a Jasmine. So it's a budget guitar, budget brand. And I told him right away when I saw the guitar, this is going to cost you more than what you pay for the guitar. He really wants to keep this guitar, okay? And I respect that. So we worked out a price that works for me. I'm cutting some corners on the services, like I'm not putting it on a neck jig. But I did a full level crown and polish on the bench. And that gave me the opportunity to show you how you can do it without the neck jig. You will need, well, to do a really good job on the bench, you will need this. Okay, this thingy, okay? Support the neck in two spots. That's what you need, right? So I put a little back bow on the neck, a very, very slight back bow, and I removed the nut. You can just watch the previous episode on this playlist. Now it's on the playlist. I also put a whole bunch of links to all the tools that I've used so far. Those are Amazon affiliate links, so you can click those links if you want me to get a little commission, okay, at no extra cost to you. That's it, yeah. It does take a minute to assemble all the links, by the way. Now, the previous live stream, so you're watching now part 3. The previous one was part 2. It had an impromptu moment, okay? Dr. Nick, who works here at Music Makers, asked me to look at his guitar, and some interesting things were discussed there. You couldn't hear him talk because he wasn't mic'd, and this is a dynamic microphone, so it's not gonna pick up a lot of room noise. So he was talking to me, but I don't think you could hear him. Okay, now back to work. So here we have, my phone is charging, so I'm using this switcher here. So here we have some specs, okay? So this guitar had this saddle in the bridge. And I must admit, I forgot to oil the bridge. So I'll remember to do that. Why don't I do it right now? Okay, because if I don't, I'll forget. So the oil that I use is coconut oil. Okay, it's good for you. It's good for the guitar. And that's it. So it just, well, it doesn't rehydrate, because hydration means that you are adding water, I guess, right? Here we're not adding water, we're adding oil. Okay? So now it's better. The old saddle was this one. It was here. Very low on the treble side, okay? And with the right neck relief, we had on the treble side 41 thousandths of an inch string height measured on the 12th fret, and 81 thousandths on the bass side measured on the 12th fret. Now, I work in inches, even if I'm a metric person. And I explained this in the previous live stream, but for those of you who haven't watched that, let's talk about this, because this is a tutorial. Here we have the action gauge. Focus. So it's really easy to work in decimal inches with this action gauge. Look at the numbers, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, etc., right? Okay, so the treble side is at 40 one thousandths of an inch height. You see this height between the fret and the bottom of the string, right? Too low for a, even for an electric guitar. It's got to be at 80. So how much height do we need to add? And it's a very simple calculation. It's this times 2, and you can count in twos. Okay, so 20, 40, 60, 80. All right, let's do it again. 20, 40, 60, 80. We got to add 80 one thousandths of an inch. We got to add this much height to the saddle. Now, why this much if we need to raise it from 40 to 80? Well, because we're measuring here from the nut to here, right? And this is double the distance. So double the distance, double in height, right, is going to do the trick. Now, on the bass side, we got to go from 80 to 100. So we need to add how much? 40, right? So from 80, 20, 40 to 100. So now I measured that these frets are radiused at a 14-inch radius. I got two saddles here, good candidates. Those are brand new saddles, they're prefabricated. This one is a 14-inch radius saddle. This one is more curved than 14-inch. It must be about a 12-inch radius. So if we wanted to use this one, we need to carve the top as well, not just the bottom for height. So this one is not, between the two, this one is a better candidate, right? This one, because it has already a 14-inch radius. Okay, so now we don't need this anymore. Let's remove this saddle. It's hard to pull it out because it's so low. Okay, here it is. So this saddle fits right in. Okay. And next thing we'll do is we'll put the old strings back. Now I kept the old strings. I wrapped them around the headstock of the guitar right here. And I'm going to unwrap them now. So bear with me. So here. So I like to keep the old strings for as long as I can, because often we need to take the strings on and off, and that's just you know, not really good for the strings. It fatigues the strings. So this one is tangled up still. And it's really annoying to work with old strings, but it's either this or we need to open a new set. So these are the bridge pins. They don't have the slanted end, but you know, we can fix that. So next thing is the nut. Okay, after we do a level crown and polish, we need to check and adjust the nut. So I am going to do that. I'm going to do it next. And then we'll adjust the relief. And then we'll look at the action and adjust whatever there is to be adjusted by shaving the bottom of the saddle. Now, I did discuss with this customer, we are doing a kind of, you know, on the budget repair. So I don't like to shim the saddle, but if we need to do it, then we're changing the job, repricing it, and, you know, shimming. But I don't think we'll need to shim. I think we might end up with action that's slightly lower than what I actually want. But if the guitar plays, I think he'll be happy. And, you know, that's all that matters, I guess. Okay, so now we need to just put some tension on the strings. We actually don't need to really tune the guitar. So when I restring an acoustic, I put a new saddle. I first put tension on the two E strings. Okay. And I hope I don't break one of those old strings, which is why I'm not going to really tune it to pitch, because now I'll be filing the nut. Just as long as it feels tight enough, it's good. It's good enough to file the nut. Whatever pitch. Okay, just tight enough to take a measurement. Especially the G string, you don't want to break that. Just making sure it's all in place properly. Okay. Now, let's do this. I am going to use this neck rest for now. And I'm using the Music Nomad nut files. And the microscope. So I can look at the screen. I usually want to look through this. Sometimes I look at both. Okay. Okay, so this is going to take a minute. So we want to make sure the nut is at the right height before we start measuring the action, because otherwise, if we later realize that the nut is too high, we already adjusted the saddle. Well, now if we lower the nut, the action is going to go lower. So we do the nut, we check the relief, which is not going to be good because we were adjusting as we were doing the level crown and polish, right? And then after those two are good, then we measure the action and adjust the saddle height. Okay? All right. Here we go again. I do this every day. Okay. I re-glued the nut. Well, you know, it's the way these things are seated. Where's my phone? Oh, I need my phone to use the switcher. And I was charging it. Okay, no problem. Let's put it back. Oh, look, I got a text message from one of the young ladies that got a guitar today. Ah, yeah, you see the picture? Actually, two of them got guitars. The other one, well, she you know, she helped with the video, so I gave her a guitar. Why not? They were both friendly. So here you can see them. So she was the actual recipient of this guitar, and then that was her friend, and I just gave her this guitar because she was doing camera work and not getting paid. So people should get paid, like I'm getting paid to do this. All right, cool. It's guitar giveaways to promote the channel. Not even this channel, to promote the main Guitar Quackery channel. So I'm gonna edit the video and it'll be published sometime in a few months. That's how long it usually takes. Okay. So this is it, right? That's the string. So these nuts, you know, they're not like carved against the neck and the binding. You know, this is just a nut that's installed later. It's never going to be like a perfect fit on the side. And now we want to see if the string is too high. Would be good to be in focus. So the strings look higher than they were before, and I didn't really measure before. And that's not surprising because we lowered the frets, right? That's to be expected, which is why we need to adjust the nut after doing a level crown and polish. Here we can see the string slot, and I'm going to hit it at the back first. So this reshapes the string slot so that we're going to end up with a little more pressure at the front. As you can see, I'm just hitting the back. And now, after I clean up the file, I just lower the entire string slot, right? Put it back, tune it, or, you know, just put tension on it and check by eye first. So this is already within acceptable range. So I want to take a quick measurement. So this part you wouldn't be able to do at home unless you have this. I mean, you can't really file the string slots unless you have these files. But if you want to get a set for your guitars, so you don't have to pay a technician to do this. I mean, this is advanced work, by the way, but, you know, some people who are talented players, they are multi-talented, so some musicians can do it. This is good. So now I'm thinking, I don't necessarily need to use the dial indicator to measure this, because I can tell from experience when it's good. So because we're doing this for, you know, the home kind of, maybe I should just do it that way for the DIY tinkerer. Okay, we're putting 12 gauge strings on. So the A string, which is this one, is going to take a 42 gauge file. All right. It's going to be a 42 gauge string, so we're going to use a 42 gauge file. Now you can, if you're going to buy these files, you can buy, that's a 42 gauge, right? You can buy a whole set, like you know most shops do, or you can buy just the acoustic guitar set or electric guitar set, or bass guitar set. Okay. Now, obviously, a guitar repair shop is going to buy a full set. 16 files. Too high? So what's important is that you keep the file almost parallel to the fingerboard here, and then by the time you come here, it becomes more parallel to the headstock, and in fact a little more towards the floor, right? Ah, look at that. So you want to have pressure at the front of the nut. Almost there. And you can see I am always constantly cleaning the file. That's really important. So when you do just this tap method, compare the strings, okay? And listen for the tap tap. The microphone that I'm using, I need to approach really closely. Maybe you will hear. I'm not even sure if you picked up that sound, but that's the sound you want to hear. Okay. So I can still hear this tapping sound, and I can barely see that the string is actually moving. And that's how I know that it's there. Now, if I want to check with my dial indicator, I mean, I should put it this way so I can see it. You can see that we have that little, you know, when I was pushing it down here, it only pushed about 2 check marks. It's really, really low. It's not quite leveled with the frets. It's a little higher, but it's really, really low. So we're done with this one. And now we move on to the next string, which is going to be our D string. So once again, once the nut is adjusted, we check our relief. We adjust it if needed, and it will be needed. And then we measure our string height, which is the action. And then shave the bottom of the saddle. Okay, so once again, you see the distribution of pressure was incorrect. This was too long, right? So it's better if it ends around here or around here, right? So then you have more pressure here. So that's why I was mostly removing now from the back, and I haven't touched the tip yet. But I did lower the back a little bit, and now I file it like this. You don't want to start too much like this because you don't want to have only a little tip at the front that's touching the string, because that's going to wear down too quickly. It's getting there. Very, very close. Look at that. So it's a tusk nut. A tusk nut can, you know, you got to be careful. You can file it down very quickly. I am barely pushing down, you know, when I'm finishing to put a nice finish on it. I push very lightly. I almost don't push down, even if I go multiple times. Oh yeah, I can hear the tap, and I can barely see the string move. Okay, so once again, we're done with the string, and the G string is gonna take 24 gauge string, so we use a 24 gauge file. Just check, it's high. Okay, we can see the same. Well, not quite. So I can take down the back a little bit, but you can see that the string was basically pushing down in this area, and this is the sideways tension going towards the tuning machine, right? So it's not quite the same situation as we've seen on the other strings. And also be careful with the thin files. So this string has a little bump here. I can feel a bump. I think something hit the guitar. So we got to be careful with this, because we can easily get a false measurement that way. Now, last thing you want is to file it too low. The way to fix it is to install a new nut. Sometimes by cutting it from scratch. Too high. Okay. I can hear that little clicking. I'm comparing the strings. Just a little. And then we'll do the B string after this. I don't think I will go any lower than this. Yeah, that's fine. Now the B string is pretty high. So you got to be careful with that because intuitively you will be pushing down more and you can easily overshoot, overfile, right? So let's just be careful. It's gonna take a 17 gauge file to do the B string. Now I can see already right there on the screen that the string slot is quite wider than the string. So we'll be cutting a smaller slot, a smaller channel inside of a wider channel, okay? And once again, we are getting, as it is, all the pressure at the tip. And this marking here is a sideways pull of the string towards the tuning post, right? So we keep that in mind. So with these really long string slots and not shaped like this, which is actually not the best shape for this kind of headstock, we are going to get a sideways pull like this. Too high. So less experienced technicians, and you know, how do I know what I'm about to tell you? Because at one point I was a less experienced technician, obviously, will have the tendency to not want to check too many times, you know, the height. And then what happens is often they will cut too low and then we'll have to redo it. So that happened to me many times in the past. I know that other people have had the same experience when they were little. So that's kind of how we all learned. And a sharp file is like a sharp knife. It's safer than a dull knife. A dull knife is actually really dangerous, right? Because you can't cut, so you are applying too much pressure. Which is why I keep cleaning the file. I don't need to learn the hard way. I learned my lessons already. So a dull file will feel like a butter knife. And intuitively, you will be pushing down more to cut into the material. but then you lose control completely. So you need to have a sharp cutting file, and you control your light pressure easily. Let me show you. So this is the tip of the file, right there. Okay, so this file's been used a lot, and we see all the diamonds there, right? Now they are a little bit clogged up, obviously. This is the powder residue right there. But it's nice and clean. And that's the only way that it's going to work properly. We're almost there. I mean, if I left it here, it would be fine. But let me see. Yeah. So this thing at the back, I want to take down. But we're always going to get a little bit of sideways witness point. And now I want to make sure that I'm more parallel with the fingerboard, so I take down that very tip. As you can see, I took down that witness point from here, right? And I'm letting the weight of the file do all the work right now as I'm finishing. And I can see very small motion of the string. Yeah, I know that my microphone isn't picking up the little tap, but it's there. Okay, so this one's good. And now a 13 gauge file for, so we're using 12 gauge strings, but they don't make a 12 gauge file, they make a 13 gauge. So this guitar will never have 13 gauge strings on. I know that, right? So, okay. First check where it's at. And yeah, so, okay. I just kind of open up the backhand first, and then see I removed that witness point, so it means I filed it right there, right? Obviously. It's pretty close. Maybe one more pass. And that's it. Okay, so I did all this without using, what I usually use is the dial indicator, right? Because once again, I'm doing this more like for the DIY tinkerer that might want to use some of the advice that I'm sharing here. And this is the right guitar for this project. So now I am still going to keep the old strings on for the next few steps. So the next step is the adjustment of the truss rod, which is the adjustment of the relief. So, it's okay. I can use this neck rest. It's fine. All right. Here we go. Readjust the camera for you. Okay. Focus maybe? Yeah, doesn't hurt. And where's my straight edge? Here. So I'm going to adjust the truss rod here with the 4mm wrench, which I have right here. I used it earlier. And we want to get here and here the adjustment on the, 8th fret, right? So that's where we measure it. Now, I polished all the frets, buffed them, so I'm being a little more careful with the stainless steel straight edge here. So we got 8 1/1000s, okay? And I want 6 1/1000s. So I want it to be a little straighter than this. So this is 8 1/1000s. Now it's not going through. 6 1/1000s is going through. And on the other side, 6 1/1000s is passing, 8 1/1000s is not. So we now have the proper relief, which means we have the nut height adjusted, the relief adjusted. So now we can take a measurement of the soundboard. Now, the other important aspect is the soundboard deflection, okay? So I'm not going to measure it now. I'm just going to show you like a rough idea. Okay, so what we do is we take a straight edge and we put it like this, and we see that there's a soundboard deflection, right? So here from this angle, you can see. So this is by design, right? And you need to have what's called a soundboard deflection. This needs to be, the highest point of the soundboard. Okay. Now, this is a budget guitar, so it's not built like a great guitar, I guess, should be built. But look at this. The neck angle is perfect. So if we look at the projection of the fingerboard after we adjusted the relief, we don't have that gap here. It's kissing the top of the bridge. Perfect, okay? Which means now the saddle height from the top of the bridge looks exactly the way it should. And now I wonder if we even need to shave the bottom of the saddle or not. So once again, the action height that I go for is 81 thousandths of an inch on the treble side, 100 on the bass side. But, man, I forgot to do something. The most important thing, right? This guitar is not in tune. So we need correct string tension. Okay, I need a drink. It's just water. So yeah. Oops. I almost lost the tool. Let's check the relief again now. I don't think it made a big difference, but let's see. Yeah, a little bit. I need to tighten it a bit. I measured just 8 1/1000ths of an inch. So the relief is going to fluctuate throughout the days and weeks and months. Okay, now it's good again. So let's measure the action. So we want 80 and 100, and we have, look at that, we have 85 and 120 something. To 125. So we are going to lower by 10 1/1000ths and by 50 1/1000ths. Let me check. So double check. Yeah. 85 to 80 is going to be 10 1/1000ths lowered on the bridge, on the saddle. And from 125 to 100 it's going to take 51 thousandths lowered at the saddle. Okay? And this is now when we completely remove the strings. I'm just going to do this, and then I will put the strings on. I mean, the actual strings on. So the reason why I am unwinding, so the string broke, is because I want to make sure the tuning machines work. But it's perfectly fine to cut the strings off and not worry about tension. Okay. This also gives us the opportunity to clean the headstock and check the hardware, tighten the hardware, which I can see is kind of loose. There's not much I can do about this because these are the tuner bushings that are just friction fit. And yeah, you can wrap tape around them, but you can see the gap here, right? So what happens if I just push it down? Yeah, kind of. You know, maybe I just put a little drop of glue there. I think I'll do that. Because they're pretty tight. Yeah. So why don't we do that? So I'm going to use where I put the tight bond. I just used it before, didn't I? Oh, here it is. Okay. So let's clean the headstock and then just put a little drop of glue. Where I put this thing? Here. So I started using this Formula 65 Dunlop just to check it out. It's a different smell than the one I normally use, which is the Music Nomad guitar detailer. And we want to make sure that, where's the screwdriver here? That these are tight, which I can see they are not. Well, this is all kind of wiggly. So this is a budget guitar. It has a scarf joint right here. Look at this. Okay. Okay, so I am just going to put a small amount of glue on each one of the bushings and just press them in. Again, it's just this glue. Okay, just like that. Maybe I put a little too much. So all these small steps, they add to the project. Hopefully, he will pick up the guitar. Yeah, I made the mistake of not collecting the payment in advance for this kind of guitar. I just forgot. You know, he was also looked very trustworthy person, so. I didn't get enough work done today, to be honest, because I was doing that guitar giveaway, and that took longer than expected. All right. So let me check what kind of strings we're going to put on this guitar. I believe they are going to be XS, 12 gauge. Hold on. I'm checking my records here. I just got to find the customer. And okay, so the Dario XS 8020 bronze, 12 to 53. Okay, and yeah, 12 to 53. 8020 bronze, right here. Excellent strings, non-sponsored comment. This is why I sell them. I wouldn't sell strings I didn't like, obviously. But there is a great company. Okay. And I know a person, I mean, I kind of became acquainted with someone who works there. His name is Pat. Oh, so these pins don't have, yeah, I need to make a small adjustment on these pins. Okay, let's do it now. So these are the pins. So I don't like those that are completely flat at the bottom. They need to be at an angle. Like the tip needs to be like this. That's how you ensure that the ball end of the string is pushed against the bridge plate properly. All bridge pins should have this. As you can see, this is just a quick little modification. Okay, so now they're good. So now, when I do this, it's going to push. Oh, I didn't adjust the saddle yet. Yeah, what am I doing, right? I completely spaced out because I was fixing the tuning machines, and I completely spaced out. Okay, no problem. Let's do the saddle adjustment. So I'm going to be using what we call the race car, which is not something that people have at home, but you can do it without. I'm just not set up to do it without it. Yeah, it would require a little bit of a jig up, which I'm not going to do because it's going to just take me longer. Okay. All right. So let me show you. Here we have, that's little race car. This is it. It's a vise basically with these height adjustments for the saddle. You see when you do that, it pushes the saddle in this direction. This just clamps it. So this is just a placeholder, but the actual saddle is still on the guitar, and I'm having a hard time removing it because it's so tight. It's actually good to be tight, especially because it's a acoustic guitar. It's not an acoustic electric. Okay, cool. It's not too tight, it's just right. Okay, and now we put it here. So treble side is, you know, this. Oops. Okay. Now, there's ways of adjusting this. I can just push down and back up these things, and I will feel when it's completely, see, now it's loose, right? Now these screws are loose. So now I can adjust them down until they hit the saddle. But I don't really need to do this every time, because I know that the height of the saddle, the surface, is 21 thousandths of an inch above this surface. So I just add 21 thousandths to my measurement. And here I have the bass side, the treble side. So I'm going to take off 51 thousandths here, but I need to add 20, which I'm going to put it up to 70, right? Obviously. And here I need to take 10, so I'm going to put it on 30. That's it. It's a very simple adjustment. And now I keep tightening these. And I keep checking this. It's at 30, which is 20 plus the 10 that we actually want to shave off. And this is 70, okay? And now we just do this. Fantastic tool. It's basically a vise on wheels. This is where I would take my vacuum cleaner now. Yeah, which I have right here, which I need to use. And this is what I was saying, I need to get a smaller one. And you see, because I was lazy, I didn't clean it right away. Now it's clogged up. And now it doesn't work as well. Okay, now it's well, it's not flush, it's protruding by 21 thousandths, right? And now we can remove it and install it. So we need to just cut this off. Okay. Let me just put this away. All right. There are still people watching. StringJoy 8020 writes, string brand, question mark. I don't know how you pronounce the N8 germ. I used 8020 bronze, which is really brass, XS D'Addario. I know about StringJoy. I've watched the videos. If I am not mistaken, StringJoy is making strings on the old D'Addario string winding machines, right? I think that's the case. D'Addario now has robotic machines to wind the strings. Also, D'Addario does not buy the wire. They make their own wire to a very tight tolerance. So I think StringJoy is great. I really admire the guy that started the company. I truly do. Okay. That's that. And now we install the strings. And then we tune the guitar, and that should be it. It's hard for a small company to be able to make a product like the Dario, because their machines are simply superior. But I would definitely buy string joy strings and use them. I haven't done it yet, to be honest. I think the guy's amazing, right? I mean, I watched his videos on YouTube, and I think it's amazing that he was able to put together a company like that. Okay. I guess you want to see me put the strings on, so here it is. I'm just going to use the simple over and under method. Sometimes I lock them, sometimes I don't, you know. Just depends on what I decide to do. Okay, so that, you know, when I put a new saddle in, I go low E, high E, and then I do the strings in between. Oh, I messed up. Sometimes I lock the strings and people are having a hard time removing them. Hold on. I will lock the strings, and I actually have a different stringing method for guitars with a Bixby. Or if I want to increase tuning stability on a guitar, like a Gibson. But I will show that in another live stream. I've talked about it before. I think I even showed it a couple of times. In fact, I did. I know I did. But I will show it again. Got to make sure the strings are in the right place. So the strings obviously are going to settle a little bit. And you can hear the guitar go, oh, I don't think you can hear it, but okay, so let's check the string height. Okay. We always, want to double check the relief. This looks good. Feeler gauges. Interesting. I need to tighten the truss rod just a bit. So last time, different strings were on, right? This is the first time with these actual strings on. So we want to have the same relief with these strings on. Okay. Okay. There's no intonation adjustment. That plays fine. Okay, so yeah, finished the service. Took a little longer than I really wanted to. Yeah, a bit. What else is new? But that's that. Okay, the Dario XS, yes, the Dario XS, these strings. So like I said, I really, really, truly admire Stringjoy, what that guy accomplished. And, you know, I definitely would support that company. I mean, it's not very practical for me to buy their strings, I guess. I would need to order in bulk, and then I'd need to convince people to buy them. It's really not doable for me. But the other thing is that I just feel, you know, the Dario clearly has more advanced equipment. So I don't think there would be anything wrong with using Stringjoy strings. I'm not saying that at all. I had the opportunity to visit the Dario, the company, the actual factory where they make the strings. It's not far from here. And I had, like I said, I'm kind of friendly with someone who works there, has a pretty good position at the company. So, so Bob Elliott, who's the owner of the studio, Bob Elliott's Music Makers NY, and I went together, and we had a private tour of the company. So first of all, they make their own wire out of what is raw material, which is basically a wire that's much, much thicker. And they pull it through these dies. The dies get changed very frequently and get reshaped into slightly larger dies. So they keep checking on every pass the wire that comes out of the dies. And they throw away a whole bunch of wire that does not pass that inspection. I've seen it with my own eyes, okay? Spools of wire, which would be good enough for many string companies, gets thrown away because it didn't pass the inspection down to that micron resolution or whatever their tolerance is. So, like I said, I've seen wire being thrown into the recycling, right? So that. Now, they make this hexagonal shape wire for the wound strings. And it's really critical. So it's kind of like an Allen key. So I have microscopes here, right? They have microscopes there. And so the wire that's, so this is what they call it. They don't call it a hexagonal, what they call it. But it's a, you know, hexagonal shape wire. So it's basically like these Allen keys, right? So now this is like the wire enlarged, right? This is what it would look like through the microscope. And it's very important that these are a certain sharpness. So that gets pulled through a die, okay? That has a hexagonal hole, and those dies get used up, right? So after a certain time, you are not going to get really the sharp edge. Okay, and why is this important? Because when they wind the winding for the wound string, the whole purpose of this is so that it bites onto that wound wire. And now the wound wire is controlled by, the tension is controlled by robotic machines. So those are state-of-the-art robots, okay, just like the Toyota car factory, that are calibrated every single day and to ensure that the winding is at a certain tension. Now, Martin makes their own strings on machines that are similar, from what I've seen on videos, to the ones that Dario used to use, which are the manual winding machines. You can't possibly control the tension of the wire being wound as precisely as on a robotic machine. It's just impossible, right? The tolerances are just not there in the equipment. So I have very limited experience with string joy. Every time I had the experience was when customers brought strings with them, and I never had any issues with them whatsoever at all. Fantastic strings. I also know that it's a fantastic company with a great customer service. Now, Martin strings that are wound on these manual machines, because I use the microscope, I've seen that even brand new strings from the pack get loose around the core. And I guess it's because of a few reasons. So I don't know. I can't remember if they have a hexagonal core wire or round. I don't know. And some people will argue that it changes the tone, and that's not the, you know, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole right now. So, but I've seen that when you tune brand new Martin strings, that the winding got loose right as it's passing through the string slot on the nut. I did not see that with any string joy strings, and I always look through the microscope, right? So, but all I'm saying is the old winding machines cannot possibly be as good as the state-of-the-art robotic winding machines. So now, I would actually love to support Stringjoy and have their strings here. And, you know, I was considering it. Maybe I should reconsider it. I'll look into it. Yeah. I think maybe they're not as easy to sell as, you know, the Dario, because so many people know the Dario and Ernie Ball. And, you know, I don't know. You gave me something to think about. And I have been thinking about that every now and then. Because I really like the guy. I watched his YouTube videos, and I am just amazed at his accomplishments. And, you know, I think that he deserves our support for sure. Yeah, so, yeah, let me look into it. So right now, it's not my priority because I know that it's going to cost me a little bit, right? So right now, I have some other things that are going to cost me a little bit. So maybe when that's behind me, you know, yeah, I will consider it. Yeah, again, all right. There's an old, Grandpa Joe says, there's an old Chinese proverb, man who is tired needs sleep. Guitar Quacker, you work long hours. I have been watching you since June 2022. on my main channel, yeah. Your channels have become very addictive and a great learning platform. Grandpa Joe, thank you very much. I'm not sure if you're still watching, but thank you. What can I say? I can reply here. Boom. Okay. Ah, he says, I am here. Okay, great. Okay, I got a bunny from Dr. Jeffrey Boyle. I love the bunny. I actually like bunnies. I like rabbits. I like birds. I actually like animals in general. I'm an animal. I've done rescue work a lot in the past. I still want to do it. You know, time doesn't allow sometimes. Yeah. Okay, so we discussed the strings. Yeah. So I just want to be clear. I really like string joy, right? But if you ask me technically, I mean, a better string is going to come out of a machine that's calibrated to a tighter tolerance, right? That doesn't mean that you can't play the guitar if the string is not as good as the latest D'Addario string. Obviously, people have been using strings that were made on the manual machines in the past for decades, and they were fine, right? They're fine. Yeah. Yeah, you know, I think I should have string joy strings here. Yeah, thank you for reminding me. Yeah. Okay, and is this a rat or a mouse? Mice. Did you see a mouse? Because I've seen mice here before. Okay. Now, speaking of mice and rats, and I was just saying that I am an animal animal advocate, right? I'm not really an activist. So I once stopped traffic because of a rat. So people use rat poison, right? Which I think is really cruel. So, you know, it just causes a lot of suffering for no reason, right? So there was this rat, so on the street, and it was on the street, and I was on my bike, and I see the rat, and he was, you know, just like, now I know the rat is going to die. I'm not going to take him to the vet, right? Because he's been poisoned, right? But then I was just worried about the cars coming. So if a car were to drive over his head, boom, okay, immediate death, right? Okay, no problem. But what about if the car drives over his hips, right? It just causes more suffering. So I stopped traffic, and people were honking at me. I just put my bike there, and I didn't want to touch the rat. So I just kind of like tapped, and he was not really willing to move. So this took forever. And I got him to go to safety somewhat. Right? So, and I knew he was going to die. But yeah, at least, yeah, not by a car running over his hips, right? Whatever. So that's me. Oh, you like crows? Okay. Yeah, I love birds. I'm really a big fan of birds. Yeah, I've always been a big fan of birds. And they're very smart, right? We don't give them credit. Humane story. Yeah. Look, I know we can't have rats running around, right? But it's how you choose to deal with it, I think, is important, right? Yeah. Okay. Okay, friends. Like Grandpa Joe said, I need to go to bed. What time is it? Almost midnight. Oh, it's still early for me. It's not even midnight yet. So let me see what else is on the menu. So this one is done. I could remove the tuners. Hold on, tasks. Let me see. Oh, I want to make a humidifier video. Maybe I will. And I want to record some videos for the main channel. I have tasks written out. And I wanted to do something on that Luna guitar, which I am going to do off camera. So I do have work to do still, but no more live streaming for tonight, okay? Not for me. Okay, so click if you will, and I guess I'll see you soon, right? Thank you. Bye-bye.